This is the I Read Comic Books podcast, the very best podcast for regular comic book fans. I'm your host, Mike Rappin, for now. And joining me this week, an 8-year-old laptop and a guy who sold his magic cards. This week, I'm joined by Kait Scotchless.
Hello.
And Zach McCrary.
Thanks for publicly shaming me, Mike.
Listen. I had to. This is the only thing that came to my mind as I was writing down our notes this week. I definitely didn't have a week or more to think about this. I only came up with it right now. But thank you both for joining me this week. I'm very excited to be here. It's been a second. We did a wonderful Goodreads episode last week, and this week, who knows? It might be my last episode. We'll see. My wife is
Mike's quitting the
verge.
podcast. He hates us all.
Yeah, I'm quitting the. This is all an excuse. My wife's not having a baby. I'm just done.
Retiring.
After 500 episodes, I think that's okay. But 775 episodes, I think, was the final stat on that. But I wasn't on all those episodes. I don't know. Either way, we're here to talk about comic books. I'm very excited because I did sit down to read some wonderful comic books, but I'm very curious about what you guys have both read. So I'm going to ask the two legally mandated questions that I have, which is, how have you been? How have comic books been? You know, let's start with you, Zach.
In my comic book life, everything is amazing. We'll put it that way.
That's why we're here. That's why we're fans.
We'll focus just in that niche. I appreciate that.
Honing in. But yeah, I mean, comics are great. I'm in a solid mood today. I too got to read some pretty good stuff this week. And the book that I want to talk about is a book called It Killed Everyone But Me. I read numbers 1 through 5, the whole thing. It's over. It's from Mad Cave Studios. I think I've sung their praises a few times now in recent months on the show, but I really feel like this past year, Mad Cave just was hitting with all cylinders, like all cylinders go. Like there's so many good books came out of Mad Cave. And I feel like this is another one. So this book is like a great balance of horror and mystery. And if I was going to give an elevator pitch, I'd say like 1 part Silence of the Lambs, 1 part Death Note, which is
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's well, I think you'll understand. So we come in after a group of teenagers are brutally murdered with only 1 girl surviving. Of course, we have like the lone surviving girl. Her name is Sutton, and she holds on to the truth of what happened that night. And never tells anyone, and she moves on with her life, or tries to, but of course it's still on her mind, and it kind of poisons her relationships because she's never fully open to anyone. And 28 years later now, something very similar has started happening again, like 1 town over, and it's up to this woman, now a mother of a teenager herself, to and the demon that killed her friends 3 decades ago to figure out what's doing the killing, because of who, and find it before it kills anyone else. So do you kind of feel the like the Death Note and the Silence of the Lambs thing now? Yeah.
So, absolutely. I mean, this almost feels like it. I don't know. Like you could describe a lot of things to this.
True.
This is interesting.
And it's cool because we have like the classic parallel stories happening back and forth as we learn the truth of what happened back then and why, and then while we also are following Sutton as she and this private investigator try to figure out what's happening in the modern day. In the story, it doesn't reinvent the wheel. I feel like that doesn't really matter because it takes the tropes within it and uses them really well to tell a fun story. Because any genre that you're going to play in, you're going to wind up hitting tropes, but the key is to make them your own, you know? The art's pretty solid. It kind of reminds me of Stepan Shajic, or some people might call him just Stepan Sajic, but I'm pretty sure it's Shajic.
Yeah.
I did an episode and I looked it up for like 3 hours. Yeah, like the page art from Stepan Shajic specifically, but with less of a focus on line work and more focus on color and shadow giving the shape and volume. There's some blood and violence, but it's not gratuitous, even though like there are scenes that you could say are pretty nasty, but like the way that the art is done is like tastefully done, so it's not like crossed or something like that where it's just like, you know.
I like that is our like maximum.
It will
right?
always
like,
be. It always will be. So like some awful stuff happens, but there's not a ton of time spent on it, and it's not in great detail. Like there's not a splash page of someone's guts hanging out or anything. Yeah,
well, that's nice.
There's no death metal album cover art. Like, let's put it that way. Like, we're not looking at like a Cannibal Corpse cover for any of these pages.
Sure.
But yeah,
sure.
it was a quick and fun read. Mad Cave does it again.
That's, you know, I was very hesitant to get into Mad Cave comics. And I tried that Our Soot-Stained
Heart,
Santa book that I talked about.
Yeah.
Soot-Stained Heart. Yeah, thank you. I had it and then I lost it. Yeah, and I was blown away. And in my mind, I'm like, what have I been doing sleeping on Mad Cave? I mean, I think the thing that really sucked me in with them was their offer that they did for Our Soot-Stained Heart, which was like, pay us $20, you get the full trade mailed to you, and then you can read all the digital issues on the way. And I was like, that's the way that comic books should be sold.
That's a really cool model.
You should do it. $20, go to their site, you buy it. I mean, you're going to get a physical trade when you're done, right? But like, to read all the issues and then just have it mailed to me,
that's so cool.
I mean, like, yes, it asks you to like dive in, but like, if you're buying the single, I don't know, it's a good deal. It's a really good idea. Anyways, so I read that, loved it, and I'm like, okay, do I have to go back through the Mad Cave like previous books and read this? And it sounds to me like I have to check this book out. I was looking at the art while you were talking, and you know, you said that this reminded you of a different artist, but this actually reminds me of the person who draws Something Is Killing the Children.
Oh, I see that. I can see that. Who is that?
And it's of course I can't look it up
one.
right
It was
now.
too creepy for me.
I don't think I could even recommend that book to anybody because it's so brutal. Like there's one, like, it's one thing to be like, oh, children are dying in a story. Like I was mentioning it, right? But like Something Is Killing the Children. The children are getting killed. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyways, I like the look of this book. You're selling me on the concept. I think I got to check this out. You've totally sold me, Zach. This is awesome. I guess, like I said, I got to go back and maybe try more of those Mad Cave books because, like you said, you have been talking about them for a while. I just think, like, I don't know, I've been a weenie and I haven't been reading them. Werther Deladra, that's who did Something Is Killing the Children. But yeah, very similar vibes, which, like,
that's cool. Well, what I think I like about Mad Cave, just to toot their horn one more time, is that number one, they're a smaller company, so they are always giving young talent, like new talent, a chance. Like they do every year, they do a talent search and stuff like that. And I have a friend who actually won it. Shout out to Damian Becton. But they do that. But at the same time, it's clear that they're really discerning with who they bring in and what books they're publishing. And even if it's a newer or like person, like a newer creator, they're still like clearly picking out the good ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's okay. I'm in. But anyways, let's move on. Let's Kate, you tell us how have you been? How have comic books been?
I've been good. Yesterday, Zander and I went to see the new 28 Years Later movie, The Bone Temple.
Good.
And speaking of gratuitous violence, oh my God, I watched a good third of that movie through my fingers.
Oh man, sure. I mean, it's a 28 Days Later sequel. Like,
exactly. I knew what I was getting into. But there is a part where one of the zombies, I think that it's a zombie movie. I know they're not technically dead, but whatever. Where he pops the top off a skull and just is sitting there eating the brains like it's a bread bowl. And I'm just like, no, I can't. It's too gross. But yeah, comics have been great. The best one that I've read so far this year is a book called Seek You, A Journey Through American Loneliness by Christine Radke. And this is a book that falls into one of my favorite like subgenres of memoir and science writing, where you combine the two genres. And I don't think I've read anything quite like it in terms of graphic novels. I've definitely read nonfiction books very similar to it, but it is a combination of like memoir, personal essay, and science writing about solitude and loneliness and its effects on the human body and mind. And it is so well done that it sounds like it'd be really depressing or boring.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's woven together so beautifully, and it's so interesting. And it's just telling you stories, right? And it's telling stories from her life, from other people's lives, from stories of different science experiments. I will say it does go into the Harlow experiments with the baby monkeys, and that part is a hard read. If you know anything about those experiments, they were brutal. We'd never approve that kind of thing these days, but they are a foundational piece of what we know about humans and connection. So it does cover that. And so, content warning for what I would consider animal abuse on the page.
For sure.
But this is something that she actually started writing before the pandemic. And then the pandemic happened and loneliness and isolation became obviously a very central theme to everyone's lives. Well, I shouldn't say that. There were definitely people that were still working and surrounded by people, but you know what I mean. But the art is also extremely well done. Whoever helped with the design layout of the book did a fantastic job, and it has the hand feel of a first second book, like that really nice cardstock, which I really appreciate.
So I laugh because I know exactly what you're talking about when you say that.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Like, I legit thought it was that publisher until I checked. I highly recommend it. Even if you are not someone who normally likes nonfiction books, this doesn't read like a dry nonfiction story. And it's really well done. Like, it is truly a beautiful story. It is not cheerful. It is kind of, it does evoke feelings. But I think it almost makes you less lonely because it's so much about how we all at some point in our lives experience these different things of like being lonely in a crowd and being, feeling like everyone has these things that you don't, whether it's like a partner or a friend group or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just so well researched too that it's hard to categorize, but it's just a really beautiful book. And I think I was surprised at how many years it's been out and I hadn't heard of it. I only picked it up because it was on the shelf at the library, and it honestly, I look for the books that are those really nice quality because I'm like, I love like getting one of those out from the library. They're so nice in your hands to read, and they're usually really good stories. They like purposely pick good stuff to put on the higher quality editions. And so I'm really glad I stumbled on this one and would recommend it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing this, Kate. I feel what you mean, or I guess I understand what you mean when you say like it's not an exciting read. It's not going to make you feel good, but there is something about understanding like your own feelings and understanding maybe something that is a little, I don't know, depressing that can kind of soothe you a little bit as soon as you kind of understand like where it's coming from. And then I think it sounds to me like this book kind of says, oh, you're not the only person who may have felt this way.
Yeah.
And that always is very soothing, at least for me personally. Like I find that to be very soothing to be like, oh, you're not alone. And like other people experience this as well. And that's okay.
No, Mike, I think you just need to tuck all that in and then punch walls when you get really angry. Yeah,
okay.
See, I think that's a better option.
All right, two sides of this. So just okay, fair arguments, both sides here.
There's a part where she talks about how being in a city is often an exercise in containing your rage at strangers, of like when she's like living in New York, about like the guy whose knee keeps touching you on the subway because he's manspreading, and like the person who's playing their music loudly without headphones, this stuff. And I'm like, this is so real. Like, listen,
when I lived in New York, I rode the subway enough times that I would, you get on and there every once in a while there'd just be a guy with a big, huge I mean, I'm talking like as big as like a keg of beer would come on with a speaker and just play music. And I'm just like, what are you doing? I've never felt so inventive in my life because I was trying to figure out how I could create directed like Bluetooth intercepting like a beam so that I could just disrupt that, because they make that stuff. It breaks federal law immediately. It's a federal offense to use a tool like that. But they totally exist, and you can buy the parts in pieces and put it together according to instructions on the internet. I almost got into soldering. I almost got into like all sorts of stuff. Like, how do you create a little pocket-sized IR like interrupter of some kind? I never really went through it because it wasn't enough of a problem, but boy, oh boy, I think if I had stayed in New York for a couple more years, it may have become a thing.
Yeah, I lived in Grand Rapids for 5 years without a car, so I was on buses constantly. And so that was all through my time at Grand Valley too. And the number of young people who will talk about the most personal, gross medical stuff on speakerphone, like, yeah, I got my results back, it's gonorrhea, and you're just like, what? Yeah, that explains
like,
the
cool.
itching.
Right. Jaissle.
And it was just like, can you just not? Why does it need to be speaker right now?
I mean, maybe just your ear hurts. You don't want to put up to your ear
Right.
because you have gonorrhea.
Of the ear.
I heard people's colonoscopy results. I heard like all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, Kait just slowly medically diagnosing or keeping medical record tracks of all the people in Grand Rapids. Anyways, thank you for sharing that book, Kait. I definitely want to check this out. This sounds like the type of book that I really, really would enjoy, and it would make me cry and feel good at the end. So, yeah. But let me talk about a book that I've been reading. As I said at the top of the show, things are wild. I'm in a very interesting time in my life. But beyond that, I have been reading a bunch of comics. I've actually been reading a lot of prose. Like I don't know, something happened at the end of last year, and I was like, I'm gonna read like all the books that I told myself I would read, for years, right? So I've been going through the list. I started reading this the Old Kingdom series. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, like Sabriel, Lyriel, and Abhor Sen trilogy. Like there's those 3 books, and I know there's like 2 more by this guy named Garth Nix. They're pretty good. They're kind of young adulty, but like way more like
they're old school young adult, when young adult was more of a mix of adult, but it was much more adult, but minus any sex.
Exactly.
So now
like,
young adult will have maybe more like sexual content, but be tonally and like story wise much less mature. It's a weird change that's happened. But yeah, they were written when young adult didn't exist as a category.
Exactly. Those first ones were, and it's very interesting to read those books. Like they're some of Kelly's favorite books. Like they'll like comfort listens on audiobook because Tim Curry does the audiobooks for them.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, I listened to a piece and I'm like, oh man, that's awesome by itself. Anyway, so I've been reading those. It's very good. Again, really darker or much darker than I would expect. But like Kait said, they were written at a time before young adult was really a thing. And I appreciate that. Like, I like that you can get a story about a teenage girl who is like, oh, that boy's cute. Also, I have to deal with these zombies that definitely just killed that whole family over there. I'm like, what? Like, okay, anyways, great stuff. Having a good time. And I've also been reading the Slow Horses books based, that TV show that came out on Apple TV. Has Gary Oldman in it. It's fantastic. It's British spy espionage bullshit. Not the best show in the world, but so fun to watch. The books are even better if you like really crass, sarcastic, no nonsense, like spy bullshit written by a British guy. Like I feel like there's the way that this guy writes, a lot of people would not like, and I find it to be perfect. Anyways, but I did read some comics. I forced myself to sit down and read comics. I've been like trying to get through at least a comic of some kind every day since the beginning of the year, and so far I've only missed like 2 or 3 days. And it's not like I'm trying to force myself to read comics every day. It's more just like there's nothing that says I can't read an issue of a comic book.
Okay,
I think I mentioned this in a previous
Are we talking
episode.
like a trade a day or a issue? Okay.
No, like one issue or a trade or just a half a trade. Like I read the Friday trilogy over a couple of days. When I sit down to read a graphic novel, usually it's like if I don't read it in one sitting, it's not getting finished. It's a weird thing. But I've been trying to be more kind to myself, to be like, it's okay. You can be in the middle of 3 different graphic novels and it's okay. And that has forced me to read a lot of different things over a series of time. Friday was really good. I was going to talk about it, but I think we've talked about it a few times on the show, and it's not Christmas time and yada, yada, yada. But if you get a chance, go read that by Marcos Martin and Ed Brubaker. But the book I do want to talk about is Cryomemory. This is from Koguchi Press. And it's a Kickstarter book, so I'm sorry, I don't know if you can get it. I think you can get it from their website, but this is by Kyle Fuel. I backed this a little while ago. The summary of this book, I'll just read it because I don't know how to properly explain it otherwise. When Renee, a syndicate assassin, is sent to a military cyber storage unit to destroy a data doll, she instead finds a fully cybernetic body with the memories of her lost sister. Together, they must confront the mysterious syndicate that controls their lives. But can Renee trust this doll? Are things truly what they appear to be? The answer is, I don't know, because this volume 1 ends in such a cliffhanger. I wanted to scream because I thought we were getting to a conclusion, and it turns out, no, this is just volume 1. But you look at this and you're like, that's just a cool book.
Yeah.
No, it's volume 1. But anyways, this is certainly a comic book that took like one look at Ghost in the Shell and Neon Genesis Evangelion and said, I'm going to just rip all the cool design elements out of those and then make a comic that fits that genre of like cyber dystopian future sci-fi bullshit where you're like, there is the only like reference to humanity is the fact that the people are human in this book. I super love that. I immediately backed it on Kickstarter though, because Kaguchi Press has made some stunning comics in the past that I really love, like Side Quest and Sword Hunt, and then they did their back-to-back anthologies, Kaguchi Comic Anthology Magazine. I'm a sucker for a good indie publisher. It's like this, PEOW, Avery Hill Press, like any book that they publish, I'm probably buying a copy of. It's a problem. My wife doesn't appreciate it. My bookshelves don't appreciate it. I appreciate it though. I love all these books. Overall, Cryomemory is a comic that feels more like it feels like a style over substance type of book on initial viewing, because it's very simple in premise, right? You don't really get a lot of details. It opens with a huge wall of text that you have to read about, like, the war happened 183 years ago, and we have to like tell you about everything, about how AI is this and that. And it's very late 90s or early 90s, late 80s type of anime bullshit, which is like so a vibe, right? And that's the thing about this book in general, is it's more of a vibe and the story is almost secondary. But at the same time, the more I think about it, I'm like, no, there's actually something smart going on here. I think I just can't get past the look of this book, which feels like an artifact of a different time, right? Like the way that it's laid out and styled, like Fuel put his entire body or their entire body into this book, to make it look like a book that came from a different time. It feels like a 90 or early 90s like anime packed into one little tiny volume. Just every little detail that you could expect is in this book. Even Fuel's art style kind of feels like older anime and manga. So I love the design of this book. It's so beautiful. Like even the packaging that this came in, like this is the book for those of you that are watching live or watching this on Patreon. This is what the book looks like. It's very pretty, but it came in a bag within a bag, and the bag that was inside of the shipping bag was like a specially decorated bag for the book itself, as if some weirdo corporation shipped it to me. It's very like thought out. I'm very upset with myself because I took a picture and then immediately threw away and went, oh no, I should keep that. And then I forgot that I had taken the trash out and it's already gone. So that's right. I have a picture of it. It's very cool. But yeah, I'm eagerly awaiting the next volume of this. It's really, really cool. I don't know, like, I love a good, well-designed book. And Kaguchi Press, like, they did this with their other books too, like Sword Hunt and Side Quest. Just beautifully designed little books. They're like pocket-sized books, but just really, really well done. I don't know really who is running this. I think it might just be a guy or something, but it's so good. Yeah, I highly recommend it. If you can buy anything from them, please do. I know that they were having issues with like tariffs and shipping and stuff like that because of the state of the world and the dumbness therein. But nonetheless, if you can get a chance to read at least digital copies of this, I highly recommend their books. They're so good.
As a 90s anime kid, you have fully sold me on that. Yeah.
Good.
Because you're right. 90s anime was its own vibe.
Yeah.
And I appreciate going back to that for a visit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I read some of the old Ghost in the Shell or manga, just because I was curious, like, how did we get from that manga to what became these like the genre defining anime, you know, and movies, and they're so simple, right? Because they're one-off stories. They're like, there's no continuity because they were just getting published in a magazine hoping that there was interest. And I don't think you actually get any real long-term storytelling until you get 5 or 6 chapters in, like most modern manga that are getting published for the first time. But like the stories that they tell in that the old Ghost in the Shell stuff is like so bad and dumb. It's just like half naked, you know, female character gets thrown into this armor and then they go kill a bunch of dudes, but like everyone's horny for her for some reason, but like they can't talk about it because they're on mission. It's like, what is happening? It's like, oh no, this is truly a different time. But like, that's not an excuse, but it's just like, whoa. And then this turned into Ghost in the Shell. And yes, that is a little bit of the story, right? Like the boobalicious character that is the main character in Ghost in the Shell is a thing, but also the concepts of that world and like the look and the feel of it is a thing that just slaps you in the face. You go, oh, this is something very different. This is something that is its own thing. And we treated it as such since then. And that's how you get books like this, because of how new and like interesting that was for the time. And now we're 30 years past and it's still breaking people's brains.
That reminds me of Berserk too, because like the first arc of Berserk is your typical like angry sword wielding like badass guy, and then when that arc is over, it just completely changes, and you go into the golden era, and the story and the feel and the vibe is very different, because it's just like he needed to pull people in first with what they were expecting of manga at the time, and then boom, it changes, and now that's like the most lauded of all the arcs after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But anyways, yeah, if you guys can get a copy of this, please do. Kikuchi Press is really cool. Paul G in the chat is saying this didn't receive the digital download via Kickstarter hole. Yeah, I don't know if I have a digital copy of this either. I think I need to reach out to them or be annoying on Kickstarter about it. But anyways, they're like I said, I think they're a pretty small shop, so I try to be a little bit lenient. Anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about comics that are on the top of our pile, something that's new or old, or just something you're trying to read off of your shelf, or maybe something you picked up at the library. Let's start with you, Kate. What is on the top of your pile this week? Or I guess before we get into that, sorry, we have Discord picks. I forgot. I've completely forgot to post in the chat. I'm sorry, everybody. Danny, though, did send one over to me. Danny is reading Magic Colossus #1. I don't even know what that is. I'll have to look it up. But Kate, now your turn. What's on the top of your pile this week?
I logged into Riverside today, all excited to talk to you guys about Helen of Windhorn, this comic you probably hadn't heard of. And turns out no one needs to hear more from the I Read Comic Books podcast about Helen of Windhorn.
I'm sorry, Kate. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But Zander told me about this amazing book that I had to read. And so I requested it from Melcat. Which is still up and running thanks to the beautiful Michigan Library Association. That was a real scramble to keep it after the federal funding that actually was paying for it before it got cut by the administration that is and shall not be named.
Yeah.
But that has been their priority of the things that lost funding to keep, because so much of Michigan is little tiny rural libraries like mine that have very few physical collection items and rely really heavily on Melcat. So very grateful for that. Shout out to my friend Alexa, who's part of that. She's doing the good Lord's good work. So I got a beautiful hardcover edition of that is sitting on my shelf and is definitely next on my pile. But right under it is Priya Puts Herself First, which is the Pause series #3. This is a middle grade series by Nathan Fairbairn and Michelle Asarasakorn. It's a tough last name, but she's a cool lady that does great art. This is like, what if the Babysitters Club were pet sitters or like dog walkers instead? It is a heartwarming mug of hot cocoa of a series.
I love that description.
All of the problems are middle school girl problems. So it deals with all sorts of great issues that I think are like really useful for kids to read. Like what happens when a new girl moves to school and your two best friends are like really into her and want to be her friend, and you feel like you're getting replaced, and that kind of little like social dramas of like that. And what about when you feel like you don't need all the supervision but your parents still do, and it deals with everything really well, while also being just like one of these like just naturally diverse books where everything, it doesn't feel forced in it or in your face. It just like handles things like how to be a good friend to a friend that's in a wheelchair, is a wheelchair user, and like it's just naturally part of the story and the stories, everything. So in this next one, it is the Christmas season, and the girls are continuing their adventures, but one of them gets a cell phone for Christmas and gets too into it. And so I think the main push of the story is going to be about social media use and appropriate phone use and stuff like that. And then one of the girls also, her family gets evicted, and it looks like she's going to have to perhaps move to a new school, which is like life-altering, world-shattering when you're 11, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
So it one of the things I love about middle grade is at every step of the story everything's going to work out and be okay.
Right.
And so these are like great chaser books, in my opinion. I use them like that all the time. Like, you read your loneliness memoir, and then you read your pause.
Right.
And the art is so cute. They do such a good job with the dogs and cats in here, especially, of making them so expressive without being like over the top. They become, via the art, very distinct characters that you know and love, these different animals on their weekly schedule. So I would recommend this to everybody, but realistically, if you're not into middle grade, you won't like this because it is very solidly just middle grade. It doesn't veer YA. It is straight up like Babysitter's Club level middle grade. So you write this down, and in 8 years, you hand this to your kid, and they'll love you forever.
You are reading my mind. I'm like, I'm just going to go to Kait to get all my middle grade recommendations because I feel like I don't like the only books that I have that I like that are in that vein are Bug Boys. I really like Bug Boys a lot. Like that's such a cute little book series. But I like this. This sounds great, Kait.
Yeah, well, I hear of all of them through Alexa. So Alexa is a school librarian, and she's on the Michigan Library Association board. And so that one of the things they put out every year are their best of lists. And so she reads like hundreds and hundreds of books, from picture books all the way through books for 17 and 18-year-olds every year. And so when you ask her what are good things, she's read all the things. It can tell you the creme de la creme, which is really useful. So she is in fact exactly how I heard about this series. She told me to read the first one when I was like, I need the most comforting of comfort books, and she's like, oh, do I have the thing for you? So
nice. Well, cool. Well, I do want to shout out to Danny. I know I said his book already, but Magic and Colossus. That's a new number one coming from Marvel. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, Magic Colossus. That sounds like some weird giant generator comic or whatever. But no, this. I mean, if you're gonna pull me back into Marvel comic books, I mean, I don't know who this writer is, but Herman Peralta is a pretty good artist. I don't know. We'll see. Marvel Comics is weird. I haven't read a Marvel comic in almost a year, and it feels really weird.
Wow, X-Men guy, no more.
But that's a whole other conversation. Yeah, we can maybe talk about that in the post credits. But for me, let me talk about what's on the top of my pile. I have a bunch of books that I'm sitting on that I've been meaning to read, but of course I went to the library and was like, this book looks cool. It's humongous. What is this book even about? This is Blood of the Virgin, written by Sammy Harcum. Sometimes, you see the cover of a comic book and you're like, oh, I gotta check this out, because it looks interesting. And then I flipped it over and we've got pull quotes from Art Spiegelman, Josh Safdie of the Safdie brothers, like who did Uncut Gems, and Jaime Hernandez. I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
That's a good trio.
Doesn't matter. I'm in. And it's funny. I picked this up. I sat at my house for like 2 weeks because I'm really good at reading my comic books that I pick up from the library. And I then suddenly saw like 4 or 5 other people post about this on Instagram. Like Bad Boy of Comics, Jesse Lonergan posted this as a book he was going to read next. And I'm like, that means I'm doing something right, I think. But yeah, I don't really even know what this book is about so much as it's supposed to be like about storytelling. The art doesn't look like too crazy, but it does feel like one of those dense reads that are probably going to like punch you really, really, really hard in the gut as you follow this man in his life. It's a pretty adult book. It's in black and white, or it's in monocolor, and then it's in full color. There's like sex and all sorts of stuff in it. This is very much an adult comic book, to say the least. But yeah, it looks good, and it's getting a lot of really good reviews. So I'm like, let's check it out. But Blood of the Virgin, that's on the top of my pile.
I just pulled this up on Goodreads to add it to my to-read list, and it looks like a very polarizing book. Everyone's either 5 stars or DNF or 1 star.
That is exactly what I heard as well as I was looking through it. So, 3.66. That's like a really good score for me, in my opinion.
That's what you want. That's what you go to Letterboxd or Goodreads, and it's like everyone loves or hates it, and you're like, oh, this is going to be great.
That's so funny, Kait. Here's the thing. Similar books readers also enjoyed, according to this. Monica by Daniel Clowes, which I thought was great. Final Cut by Charles Burns, which is a very interesting read. I was in the middle on it, but the more I think about it, the more it grows on me. Paul is like screaming to get on microphone right now, I'm sure. And Blurry by Dash Shaw, which I think was one of the best books I've read this decade. Hands down, one of the most creative storytelling books ever. I can't even. It's a whole other thing. I talked about it on the episode a while back, but like, yeah, very, very very much in love with Blurry. So that is good. That's all good signs for Blood of the Virgin. Okay. So I'm very excited to read this. But anyway, Zach, what is on the top of your pile this week?
Oh my. So mine is Street Sharks numbers 1 through 4. Now that we've talked about all these like wonderful highbrow comics that you just listed, let me talk about Street Sharks.
No. We're done. Thanks. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Look, man, like, why am I reading this? Why am I sort of excited to check it out? Man, fuck if I know. Like, why was I so excited to read that goofy Gargoyles Fantastic Four crossover? Which, by the way, was
because they're sharks and they're on the street. What more do you need to be hyped about? Come on.
Damn, Kate, you right.
She nailed it. I mean, it is probably just purely that nostalgia, which is IDW's bread and butter, as I've said before many times. Stephanie Williams is a good writer, so I'm curious how fantastic her story will be. Wasn't that their thing? Fantastic. As
I don't know, Zach. I don't know.
She's going to launch us into this world of one of the dumber Ninja Turtles clones from the early 90s. Not the dumbest, but it's definitely up there. So I'm curious. I just have to sate the child in me a little bit and be like, is this book worth checking out? I mean, I loved Silverhawks and like Thundercats and stuff like that. So why not add another one?
I mean, I feel like IDW is just scraping for whatever IP they can get their hands on, but that's okay. I mean, I will say I did look through the previews of this. I think we dogged on it a little bit when it first came out.
It's probably not going to be great.
It's interesting though. Like, it's kind of like, what stories can you really tell about the Street Sharks? Because I quite frankly don't remember anything about them other than the toys. Because I was that age, right? I think you and I are right at the same age of like, this is the type of toy that I want right now. Is this weird giant head thing that I can use on my little brother's arm? Like, that's
this
all
shark
I want.
has giant rippling muscles, and I need to hit things with it.
I know. Can they swim in the cement or something? Is that what it is?
The show was okay. It was hot garbage. Like the cartoon was. It was clearly like, we need a Ninja Turtles. What can we do to have our own Ninja Turtles? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I can tell you the story. There's going to be a bad guy. They're going to punch a bunch of henchmen, and then they're going to punch the bad guy.
Okay.
Save the day.
That's
and it's going to be fun the whole time.
And they're gonna have voices like this.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna hear that the whole time you read their dialogue.
And then there's also a guy who talks like this.
And then there's probably like a little guy who talks like this.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And then there's probably a guy who talks like this, who's the smart one, and who they all have to respect or something.
Oh yeah, of course. And they have one human friend who is their connection to that world,
to the real world. Yeah. Or there's like a little girl. It's either there's like a full-grown man or it's a little girl, and there's nothing in between. Maybe an old man scientist. You have to like pick one of those three, but you cannot have all three. Anyway, Zach, let us know. Genuinely, let me know what you think of these after you read them, because part of me wants to dive into this ridiculousness, but I just, even though we got the comps, I was like, I can't do this. I couldn't get myself through it. Interesting. This is always synonymous with Darkwing Duck for me in my head, so like, I don't know. But yeah, very exciting. I think that's all we have for today, though, guys. I appreciate you spending the time today and chatting with me. As always, this is so much fun. I can't believe that I'm going to be gone for like 3 months. So I'm taking in all of these precious moments while I can. But I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you to everybody listening out there. You are fantastic human beings. For those of you hanging out with us on Discord today, you're even fantasticer. Thank you to Zander for editing the show. Thank you to Kait and Zach for your time today. Thanks to Paul for proof listening. And until next time, comics are good, and so are you.